For the last part of our show tonight, I have Tim Seanor here with me tonight. He's going to give us the UFO report. And so I'm going to bring up Tim. I don't have that fancy music that Dave uses usually. It wasn't here tonight. So welcome to the show, Tim. Hey, it's
Hey, hey,
so nice to meet you, and thank
nice
you
to
for
meet
being
you.
here with me.
Thank you so much. It's great to finally meet my spaced out sister.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, I have to admit to you, I don't know a ton about UFOs. My specialty are cryptids,
Cool.
but I have definitely experienced UFOs. I've definitely experienced ETs, and I know you're the expert. I mean, are any of us really experts? I don't know, but
Exactly.
you know more than I do. So to me, you're an expert.
Oh boy. Well,
Yeah.
if you've had those kind of experiences, I think you probably are a leader on this.
I
That
oh
sounds cool. Love to dive into that, to be honest. But I've got some news if you want to talk about it.
I would love it because I've been hearing a lot about UFOs in the news lately, Tim, and I think that maybe some of the stuff you're going to talk about tonight is some of the stuff I've heard about. So yeah, I would love to hear it. Let's hear
Cool.
it.
Awesome. So, to start out, Tucker Carlson shares bizarre tale of troops dying from UFO encounters. And so, during an appearance on the Full Send podcast, Fox News, Tucker Carlson recalled a recent discussion with Stanford professor who 11 years ago was allegedly tasked by the Defense Department to investigate numerous cases of troops dying due to UFO inflicted brain injuries. And so the polarizing host of Tucker Carlson Tonight shared that his source, who claimed to have his expertise in traumatic brain injury, studied the brains of more than 100 troops who died following such encounters. And so the professor also told Carlson that there are dozens of open court cases that support his claims. And so, in a number of those cases, these things have landed on military bases. Servicemen have approached them and they get traumatic brain injury or they're killed. And so, Carlson said on the podcast, I'm like, why isn't this on the front page of the New York Times? I don't know.
That's right.
And so the US military, meanwhile, is having no part of this particular UFO discussion, saying simply that the story is false, in a quote from Susan Go, a Defense Department spokesperson. So this great article that I'm reading from Military Times included that the Pentagon declined to comment any further, stating simply that UFOs have become a hot button topic among military officials in recent months. So it's pretty interesting to get his position with such an outlandish
Yeah.
potential case, but you might have some insight that goes a little beyond this, and I'd love to hear some details.
I mean, it's good to know people. It's all I'm going to say. It's good to know people who have some involvement in the military and things like that. And not to get into detail, but yes, I do know some people who do have a little bit of inside information about this. And it just so happens that they shared some of that with me. They were talking about what had really been going on with some of these craft. I had a friend who passed away actually, who had some involvement with uh, crashed UFOs and things like that, who had been in the military. He never, something he couldn't talk about while he was living. At the time, he wasn't supposed to mention anything about it, but I kind of knew a little bit about what he had done. But yeah, they say that you get a massive headache. A lot of the soldiers were getting massive headaches when they got about 100 yards from these ships. Many of them would black out. I actually wrote my notes down. Okay, I have some notes here because
That's
I got a
awesome.
lot of information about it.
That's
Um,
cool.
but many of them would black out, and the military had developed a special helmet to protect the soldiers now. So this was something that was happening for quite a while, but there is a special helmet
Is it made of
that they use
tinfoil?
now. Is it what?
Is it made of tinfoil?
No, I don't think so.
UFOs and the tinfoil
I
hats.
don't think so. Listen,
No,
my tinfoil
I'm
hat
joking.
is like a big bonnet, okay?
I like that.
My tinfoil hat has become a bonnet. It's like I wear it to the beach, one of those beach hats,
I like that.
Um,
How
yes,
interesting, an actual helmet to protect them, I'm assuming.
that's what I've been told. I mean,
Wow,
I don't know. I'm not in the military. I've never done any of this stuff.
interesting.
This is secondhand information. So
I
I'm
wouldn't
not
doubt
even
it.
sure.
Very
But
interesting.
exactly, it's not. It doesn't sound out of the realm of possibility, though, in my opinion. And also, the soldiers that would get close to these craft, anyone, you don't have to be a soldier, anyone that got close to them, they would experience vertigo. And many would go into convulsions, is what I was told. Now, I asked personally, is it radiation? Is it infrasound? Because, I work with cryptids, and I do a lot of work in the field. And when I say work, it's just research. It's not like I'm working, getting paid by some company. I'm doing this for fun, okay? But I have experienced the infrasound. I've experienced radiation when it comes to the portals and things like that my team's experienced. So I got a yes and a yes. Okay, so infrasound and radiation, and I was told it's not pleasant. Okay,
Wow.
so yeah, that's pretty much the information that I have on this. But yeah, it's a real thing, and I would love to see what those helmets look like.
Yeah, that's
Right?
very intriguing, but I imagine they definitely exist. Why wouldn't they? That's really neat.
Why wouldn't they? I mean, you got to think of if this has been going on for some time now, there has to be something made to protect from it. So,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
the tinfoil crown.
a little more from this article goes into the fact that last week the head of the Pentagon's All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARROW, drafted a report suggesting alien vessels could indeed be sending out search probes throughout our solar system. And so an artificial interstellar object could potentially be a parent craft that releases many small probes during its close passage to Earth. And so an operational construct not too dissimilar from NASA missions. And so Sean Kirkpatrick wrote in the report co-authored by Avi Loeb, chairman of Harvard University's astronomy department. This paper named the physical constraints on unidentified aerial phenomenon. The research paper was published after weeks of heightening reporting on the UAP after a Chinese spy balloon traversed the US airspace. And so we can see them considering some pretty out of the box possibilities for what UAP could be, and even considering the fact that there might be a large mothership that is distributing these kind of like a dandelion concept, if you will, out
Yeah.
down to the planet. And I heard you talking earlier about things coming from inner Earth, and I
Yes.
think you might have something there, inner Earth, underwater, because
Yeah.
there's definitely an interest there, and they seem to interact pretty seamlessly with, volcanoes, the water. And so, why
Yeah.
couldn't they traverse our mantle and such and get into the inner Earth? Very plausible, and I enjoyed that concept. I thought deeply
Interesting.
on that. So
Yeah.
transmedium could potentially include our Earth planet crust. Why not if
It
it's truly
could.
transmedium?
Wow. Yeah, no, I have a friend from my hometown back in the day. He was actually best friends with my cousin, okay? And he hit me up. I think he thought it was funny that he saw that I was the Cryptid Huntress and, chasing Bigfoots in the woods and stuff. It caught his attention, and I think that he saw that I was very vocal about the UFO connection to Bigfoot and to all the paranormal stuff that we experience out in the field. And he told me in confidence, which I'm exposing it to the world right now. He shall remain nameless, but he was part of the Navy, and he said that while they were on a ship, they would, I'm not going to say frequently, but they had at times seen UFOs go into the ocean and then come out of the ocean. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on. Okay, a lot of weird stuff going on. But he still didn't believe in Bigfoot, even though he had seen that. He was like, "Well, I'm still not sure about Bigfoot, but I've seen what I've seen." And so, fair enough. Fair enough. He felt comfortable enough to tell me about it. But yeah, who
Yeah.
knows?
No,
Tim,
I
there's a lot
think,
of weird stuff going on.
well, I don't think that you have to believe in one to believe in the other. And I think belief is a pretty heavy word. Somebody might have had an experience with one, but not another. And it doesn't mean,
Very
that
true.
one exists and the other doesn't, because it's very plausible. Anything is possible, right? We're
Yes,
starting to think
everything's
out of the
possible.
box. Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
you brought up probing, and I was like, oh, I don't like hearing probing when I'm out in the field and I'm experiencing ETs. That's the last word we want to hear. I'm just
Right.
saying.
Yeah. Alien probes. Yeah. No. We'll call them UAPs. Alien
It's a little different.
UAPs.
Well, I say UFO. I've still not gotten used to saying UAP. It's hard to
Good.
say that.
Good. It's a
Is it
big,
good?
well,
Okay.
it's a 4-letter word here on this show, believe it or
Yes, I
not.
know Dave doesn't like it.
Yeah. UAPs with
When
an
I
S.
hear that, I have a hard time accepting it. I'm just,
Good for
I'm a,
you.
I'm a, I'm a progressive woman, but I still like the word UFO or the acronym.
Right. Right. Well, I think
Yeah.
it's more descriptive of the actual phenomenon of
Yeah.
UFO and alien, whereas UAP is kind of more, it could be a missile, it could be a ball of plasma, it could be lightning, you know.
It could be.
Whereas UFO is very specific. It's a disc, or it could be a ball of light or whatever, but it's more in the ET world, right? And so I think should be the discernment. It's, at least that's how we're kind of throwing it around here loosely,
Yeah.
that way, to discern it.
Yeah. That's a good thing. I'm glad I'm a part of Spaced Out Radio where we still refer to them as UFOs.
Yes.
Yes.
Fight the power.
UFO power.
That's right. That's
UFO
right. I love
power.
that. And it's interesting because I see we've still got time, so I can kind of stick on the topic.
Okay.
Because in the second story, are you cool? Just since it's so
Absolutely.
closely
Let's do it.
linked,
Let's do
and
it.
it's titled "Unveiling the Enigma," talking about cylindrical UFO mothership and its progeny. So, kind of along the lines of what Avi Loeb and Sean Kirkpatrick were talking about in their theoretical paper of the dandelion theory of UAP. And so, this is a great article coming from latestUFOsightings.net. And it's talking about a remarkable photograph that recently unearthed from the depths of the once secret Project Blue Book files, and it has ignited a resurgence of the interest in the UFO phenomenon. And so the image, captured on March 20th of 1950, actually depicts a cylindrical UFO hovering over New York City, accompanied by numerous smaller objects believed to be extraterrestrial probes. Okay, and so it's the big bad word, but for decades, the military attempted to conceal this captivating image, excuse me, offering dubious explanations such as attributing the sighting to the moon, or the clumsy cover up continuing with the erasure of the photographer's name from the project's files, along with the names of other individuals connected to the case. And so I don't know if you want to, did you get the photographs that I sent?
I
Because
did.
you can
I
bring that
did.
up and we can
I'm
show
going to
our
bring them up.
audience
Yes.
that has YouTube up. For decades, the military attempted to conceal this captivating image. And so, as reported on March 10th, the Pentagon has recently acknowledged the possibility of the alien mothership concept, dispatching probes down to the Earth. And so, this 1950 photograph provides some compelling evidence to such
50.
claim, supporting and suggesting that the government has been aware of the existence of such motherships for many, many years. And so this is an image
Tim,
here.
50? 1950? That's almost 100 years ago.
Yeah, this is an old article. I'm starting to realize that. This isn't probably an
But
8-year-old
I'm
article.
saying that
Yeah,
1950, that's like 75 years ago almost. That's so
indeed.
wild.
And so the photograph that we provided is basically looking kind of, I mean, very descriptive of a cylinder
Let's try to
with
get.
lines running around it, much more cylindrical than even the Oumuamua that had Avilobe so interested. But perhaps something like this is what has triggered his interest in Oumuamua. Maybe he had access to this kind of information. And in the second photo, you can really see the small probes that are almost looking like they could be ejected from it. And so the big question is, why has the Pentagon chosen to disclose the information about these enigmatic motherships and their small UFO progeny now? And there must be significant reason behind this decision to bring this subject into the public eye. And the recent revelations have sparked a wave of intrigue and speculation among UFO enthusiasts and the general public alike. It's kind of exciting. What's your initial thought when you see something like that?
I mean, it's 1950. Okay, so it blows my mind that they're just releasing this now, like literally 75 years later, when there's so much more. I mean, they say that the technology is like 100 years ahead, at least, of like what we see today, anyways, and they're showing us something from 1950. It just I just see beyond the veil of a lot of this disclosure and things like that. And I'm always telling everyone, don't depend on your government to disclose this information to you. Watch the YouTube channels of people who are boots on the ground out there doing the research and, spaced out radio, things like that. Because our government is not going to tell us the truth. My God, that was 73 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a joke, in my opinion. I'm just saying, no offense, but it's not to anyone. We're talking about the story. It's just the government and the Pentagon. Like 50 years later,
Right.
it's just wild. I mean, I have seen ETs with my own eyes. I know that I've seen. I mean, I deal with Bigfoots and stuff.
Yeah.
I know I'm on some kind of weird watch list. I know too much already, as it is. But with the UFOs, come on, it's just odd. It's just very odd to me. And I do think there probably is a mothership up there. I've been hearing a lot about that in the news lately. I mean, I've seen, literally, Tim. I have seen a video from a very one of my best friends. He has obtained this video. He will not release it to the public because the woman who had it, she was with MUFON. Angela Shear, she passed away a couple of years ago, and it was her video that she had, and my friend has access to it. It's orbs that fly past a CCTV camera in somebody's backyard. They land in the ground on somebody's backyard. They turn into aliens, and they run around. I'm telling you, I've seen some weird stuff in my lifetime.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Wow,
I've talked
that's
to.
amazing.
Well, Grant Cameron was like, if you come on, he and I have done a show together. He was like, if you ever air that, I'll tell everybody about it. And but I can't get my friend to make it public. Not
Mm.
yet. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll come on Spaced Out Radio.
Oh, he needs to.
He should. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I'll
that's an
talk to him.
amazing account. What a piece of video.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think things are so much farther advanced than like what they're showing us.
Yeah.
A lot of these orbs that we're seeing, I don't even think that they're UFOs. I think they're actual entities. But that's just my opinion
Yeah.
from what I've been shown. I don't
Yeah, they
know.
could be. I mean, I filmed one right here in during a rainstorm,
Hmm.
and it just floated kind of like a bubble. Didn't seem to have any intelligence to it, but it just was cruising at treetops and then floated off towards the city. And
Yeah,
like I said, during a rainstorm, there's something to it.
odd.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe it was curious or just hanging out. I don't know, but
Well, I've seen, or that's one constant that we have in the Bigfoot community. Like I'm not going to say community, but with my team, when we go out in the field, we see a lot of orbs, and the
hmm,
orbs are very different. They can be transparent, they can be solid, they can be orange, white. They can have
hmm.
faces of humans in them. Okay, it's really
And you
odd.
see your naked eye, or in the
Yes,
images after.
both. I see them with my naked eyes. I
Hmm.
had a case where I was actually in a place that my team researches. We call the Meadow. And I came home one night because my son was only 3 years old at the time, and so I couldn't stay the whole time that my team was out there. And I came home, and when I got home, there were orbs in my house floating around my son, and his father, who I was married to at the time, had his camera phone out and was filming them dancing around my son. And he could not see the orbs with his bare eyes, with his naked eyes, but my son and I could both see them. And my son's pointing at them and following them with his finger around. And his dad could not see them except for through his phone at all. And so it was really freaky, but that was a very good moment that taught me that not everyone can see what I see. Okay, not my son as well. You have to be on that frequency, and so there's something to it.
Yeah, you were
Sure.
kind of talking about, the article, the medical aspects of getting up close and personal with aliens and UFOs. And do you think potentially at some early point in your life you were exposed, and so it changed you chemically, or it changed your brain the way we know Gary Nolan, Dr. Gary Nolan, is studying and talking about pretty freely? Do you think perhaps that's what happened to you, and so now you have this ability, and maybe that's what initiates it for a lot of people?
I think so. I don't remember specifically an incident when I was young, but I do know that I had a fascination from the time I was in elementary school of black holes. And a lot of I would take my mat that I took to elementary school outside and lay on it and look for UFOs when I was a kid. And I lived on a farm, and I had a fascination with UFOs as a child, a little child. And so, yeah, probably so. I would see ghosts. But as I got older, I was also seeing aliens and things like that. And I questioned whether the ghosts that I was seeing as a child were aliens. Okay, and so there's a weird intermingling of ghosts and aliens in my life, and so yes, I do believe that I probably did have some sort of experience when I was a kid.
Interesting. Interesting.
Hmm.
My whole family saw a UFO together, including my two very young kids. And since then, my son has said something really strange to me that, and to all of us eventually, that, and we don't talk about UFOs. He doesn't connect it. He didn't know he saw something strange. So this wasn't planted in his head at all. But he has a fear of looking up into the sky because he feels like he's falling up into it. Falling up into the
Falling
sky if he
up.
looks up. And so he doesn't like looking up into the sky. It's just an odd thing. And he doesn't. He really doesn't. It's almost like a little bit of a phobia. We're getting him
Wow.
over it, because he has telescopes and binoculars and we're outdoors people. But it was just an odd thing. And he really doesn't like looking into the sky. And you got to wonder, like, some of that stuff, where's that from? I don't look too deep.
Yeah.
I don't discourage him from talking about it, but at the same rate, it is odd. You got to wonder how early some of these experiences potentially start with people.
It does. And it's like with my son, I was mentioning earlier tonight, my son was walking out of the grocery store with me one day, and he said, "Mom, I've been here before. What is it called when you feel like you've already experienced something
Mm,
at that moment?" Like, he explained it perfectly. Deja vu. And I was actually, it was one of those proud mom moments, like, oh my God, my
yeah.
son knows what this is. And he has the wherewithal to understand it and know that this is not normal. It's not something that, it's something that he's aware of. And I was very proud of that. I was glad that he noticed.
Yeah, and you should encourage him and, tell him to get good at that kind of stuff, right? I
Absolutely.
remember when I was young, early getting into my film career, I would do a lot of stop motion stuff and claymation. And I don't know if you need to go to break or not here,
No,
but
we don't. Because we're not doing the radio tonight.
oh,
We'll go
okay.
straight through. Yeah, we're
Oh,
going
okay.
straight through.
Okay. Early on in my childhood, I told my mom that I could envision like anything, any perspective, like as we were driving by, a bird would fly by, and I'd like, I can see what it's seeing and imagine that. And she was like, get good at that. And I ended up being a filmmaker when I was and a writer. as an adult. It was because she encouraged me to get good at that. It's kind of like that out of body perspective, the POV of anything inanimate or adamant for that matter. But encourage your son at those little skills because it can turn out to be something pretty big potentially as an adult. I think that's great.
Absolutely, I do. Listen, he had no interest at all in Bigfoot. Okay, he never wanted to go with me to the field or anything, and I've been doing this for a while, since way before he was born. And finally this year he said, "Mom, I want to be the cryptid hunter. I want to go do Bigfooting." And so I started taking him, and so now he's finally interested in it. And I'm encouraging him. He's very switched on psychically, and I think that's he's got a very open mind. And I think that's important when it comes down to doing research. And I was thinking, man, he has no idea how cool his mom is. He has no idea.
And you're cool taking him out there. Like, do you feel like those experiences out there, like it's friendly or
No, not at all. Some of them are, but no, I don't take him out there at night. He'll never go out where we research like that. I've taken him out one time where we do research it during the day, and
is there more safety in the daytime?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
There's more safety. It's still dangerous, in some way, but I have a team of elite, military guys and law enforcement people and stuff. We have a very awesome team and very safe, and so I felt safe taking them out there.
You guys use a lot of toys, or do you go in low tech?
I go low tech. Okay, Jessica Jones is low tech. You can tell. You can tell by my computer skills. I'm a low tech kind of girl. But yes, I don't take a whole lot of stuff. I have ghost hunting equipment that I carry. But my team, some of the people, it depends. I'm a member of 3 different teams. One team, we just don't carry anything. We just go out there to experience. We're a bunch of remote viewers, and we get a lot of activity with that team. Now the other team, the one that goes to the meadow, we carry equipment. The guys carry equipment. At nighttime, we have our thermals, our FLIRs, night vision, Geiger counters, K2 meters, whatever, whatever we could take out there, we've got. We still get a lot of activity, but it's more like ET related and UFO related kind of activity. Now the team that's like remote viewing, we don't carry the equipment. We get more Bigfoot activity. So it really just depends on what you want to.
I guess I was going to kind of ask that. Like, do you find you get more responses with no tech or with tech?
No tech. No tech. Well, it depends on what kind of experience you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of even when we don't do we do the low tech, let's just say, when we're Bigfooting, we have more Bigfoot activity. We always have more Bigfoot activity when there's not a lot of equipment. But no matter what we're doing, we always have ET activity, portals, a lot of stuff that's not Bigfoot.
Do you mind describing
we're
a portal
Bigfoot
to
activity.
me?
A portal?
What does that look like?
Absolutely. My team has encountered at least one portal. I'm going to say 2, okay? But we've documented one portal. And the portal was not seen by the naked eye. You could not see it at all by just looking with your eyes open. It was late at night. The team was in the meadow, and it's a place that we investigate, and it's out in the middle of nowhere in the woods. There is an open space we do call the meadow, and the team was dispatched. Like, we never go any. We have strict protocol because it's so dangerous out there. There may or may not be a missing persons cluster in that area. Okay, with the missing 411 series with David Paulides.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely some kind of like underground base going on there. It's in the south, undisclosed location. The team was dispersed into different areas of the field. And one team had 3 members, and it was Dave, Terry, and Kristen. They're sitting there. Dave is looking through his thermal imaging camera. He sees something shows up in the middle of a field, and it looked like a cube. It was a box, and it was only seen because it had a heat signature to it. Okay. And it started off cold and it got hot. Okay. And it was about the size of like a shed in your backyard, and it looked like it had like a door in the middle and maybe a window, some crosses in it. It was really odd. And he was like, he kept looking at it like, man, am I losing my mind? you know? And so he had Terry look at it. Terry saw it and said, oh my gosh, what is that? And so they sent team members from across the field that were close to it over to check it out. They walked up to it. It was just a square, like a cube. Is what they call it. We call it the cube. And they walked over to it. Bob and Tim walked to it. And as they walked over to it, they were guided to exactly where it was. And when they walked up to it, their heat signatures disappeared. They described it as walking into a black velvet curtain, and the temperature changed. The vegetation on the ground changed. It went from thick vegetation to smooth. Mind you, these are trained remote viewers as well. So we're all trained to remote viewing. My entire team is. And we're trained to pick up on energetic shifts and differences in energies and things like that, and environmental changes. So and they're one of special forces. They're retired military, both of them. They noticed a difference. Something was wrong. Okay, even though they couldn't see what was going on, the stars disappeared. They couldn't see the stars anymore. And so they knew that something was off, and so they backed out and they walked backwards. They didn't know they were walking out of it, but they were. And as they moved out of it, the thing shrunk down. Kristen had the wherewithal to turn on her camera, and so she was filming it with her FLIR, and it shrunk down, and then it moved after they walked out of it, and then it disappeared. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's
So
intense.
it's very intense. It's something that I've never seen documented before.
Yeah.
My team has it. We have not released it to the public yet, but it's there. And I've interviewed every single person on my team. It's on my YouTube channel, The Cryptid Huntress. Y'all
That's
can
so
go
cool.
watch it if you want. But it definitely happened.
There are some incredible witness stories of the cube concept
Well, I
for the
had never
portal.
heard that before at all until we've been public with this for about a year and a half now, and
Hmm.
I had never heard anything about anyone experiencing a cube in a field. Now I'm hearing it a lot,
Yeah.
which is odd, which is really
Yeah.
crazy. It's even in that David Politis UFO
Yeah.
video, that
Yeah, it
film that he
is.
made.
It sure is. And actually, my family's event that took place on Bainbridge Island, it's called the Bainbridge Island Tic Tac event. And you can look it up, but that
Yeah.
was basically a craft and a little white cigar. And the little white cigar fired a beam of some sort that opened up a cube in the sky, of
No
which something
way.
either went in or out. I couldn't tell whether it was going in or out, but at the end of the event, there were more objects than I had seen or photographed in the beginning. Oh, by the way, I have 11 photographs of all of it.
No
So,
way.
yeah,
When
it
was
took
that? When
place
did that happen?
2019,
Oh my
July
gosh.
5th
Okay.
at 2 in the afternoon, right over
Okay.
West Seattle from Bainbridge Island, across the Puget Sound,
Oh my
across the
gosh.
water. And I got
Wow.
really clear photos.
Okay, I'm trying to think what year. Okay, so my team encountered the cube 5 years ago. So what would that be? 2023. So 2018, I guess, is when we encountered the cube. 2018 or 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh
this,
my
what
gosh.
what we saw was on the same coast, almost exactly 1,000 miles away from what was taking place on the Omaha at the same time, famously with the Green Pyramid videos,
Green
right?
Pyramid videos. I don't know anything about those.
Oh, Jeremy Corbell had released to the public some video that was taken with night vision that showed stars in the sky and potentially something moving that when the iris is open all the way, sometimes stars can look like pyramids or triangles. And so,
Okay.
there's a little bit of up in the air of what that video is, but either way, there was something taking place. And what we had seen was 10 days before that on the same coast, 1,000 miles away. It was just one of those things like in your historical time map of UFOs, if you wanted to place my sighting somewhere in there, that's where it took place. But
Wow.
it was really intense. And it's the whole reason I'm here. I never knew anything about UFOs before that day. Literally never considered it a reality. None of my family did. So it was, yeah, the whole reason I met Dave, the whole reason I'm here, the whole reason I'm now, doing documentary work and doing TV shows on the topic. So it's not the
Wow.
only thing I do, but it is at least 60%, a little bit more than half of what I'm doing right now is dedicated to this topic. And
Oh my
even with that
gosh.
experience, I'm still very much not sure what I saw. I'm not saying it's aliens. I don't know what it was, but it was
Not saying
enough
it's
to make
aliens,
me,
but it's
it was enough
aliens.
to make me curious to find out
Right.
more, right? And there was a psychological aspect that lingered that I'm definitely on the path to hopefully find out one day. So, like
Well,
yourself, it's curious.
well, would you consider doing a hypnotic regressive therapy, like a hypnotic regression therapy?
No, only because it's not a positive experience. The
Okay.
like the dreams and the things that are lingering from it that my whole family has that they don't know necessarily is connected to that, but it's a thing. I mean, Gary Nolan is onto something. I was a quarter mile away. I looked into that light for a minute 10 seconds. Actually, it was a 2.5 or so minute experience of which we were staring into that open portal that didn't move at all in the sky for a minute or so, and it was mesmerizing. And anyways, there was a lingering effect of it that makes me convinced there's no way I would want to dive deeper. I have
Right.
enough. Like all I have to do is go to sleep at night, and I'm pretty much there. So
I feel you. Listen, I have never, I mean, I did do one regressive kind of hypnotic session, let's just call it, but I didn't get very deep into it. And so I don't really know what happened. For whatever reason, it's almost like my subconscious didn't want to know.
yeah, I'm
My
definitely
higher
there.
self didn't want to know.
I don't
Yeah.
want to know. And the part that I do know is really uncomfortable. And I'd love to, if I could erase it, I would much rather have hypnosis that's like, you're going to forget everything about that. And
You
that
get
would
the
be
little
great
laser
for me.
beam thing, like on MIB, that movie. Just
Yeah. Oh,
wipe
the
your
flashy
memory of
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish,
Flash
I wish
pen.
that was real. So,
It
I
is
do,
real from what I hear.
I do have some top secret news from the front lines from our captain of the space train
Let's do
leading us
it.
down the woo path. If you're into it, Dave sent me some insider information from the
All
front
aboard the woo
lines.
train.
Are you guys ready for this? From the front lines at UFO Con in San Francisco, our good friend Dave Scott informed me that he ran into John Ramirez. And John is excited because he's got his ticket for Vegas. So,
I'll be there. Oh,
yeah,
yay. We
yeah.
get to
And
meet
so
him.
will John Ramirez, who is currently a counterintelligence and human intelligence expert, former CIA officer, right? And between 1984 and 2009, John Ramirez worked for the CIA, serving with the Directorate of Science and Technology, the Directorate of Intelligence, and Officer of Director Naval Intelligence. And he actually reached the ranking of GS 15, which means
Whoa.
he served as a very senior position whilst at the agency. And so Ramirez burst onto the scene in 2021, and he is a highly intelligent individual who has an immense amount of knowledge and experience regarding the U.S. intelligence apparatus and the UAP subject. So if you guys want to come and meet this gentleman and hang out, he's going to be having some downtime with the SOR team. So maybe we're going to
I'd,
get
I'd
a
say get your
cat
VIP
on.
tickets, man. Everybody get your
Yeah,
VIP tickets so you can hang out with that VIP party Friday
that's
night.
right. It's going to be
Yeah.
a blast. And how cool is it that he's all excited to come and see us all and come and hang out in Vegas? We're going to have a blast.
It's
It's
going to
really
be
going to be
fun.
fun. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah. And so I was really excited when he told me that. And that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. I'm excited, man. And we're going to be broadcasting live from the Golden Nugget. So
Yeah.
maybe we can interview this fella. Okay. We're just going to have a lot of fun.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. It would be the first time for SOR. He's never
Yeah.
been on the show.
Okay. Well,
Fingers
there's a
crossed.
first time for everything.
There is indeed. And so I
Yes.
still have a
We're
few
going to butter
nuggets.
him up and get some
Yeah.
information out of him, right?
Yeah. I did save some news nuggets for the very end. I don't know if you want to talk about NASA or not.
I
Another
mean,
four-letter
NASA.
agency.
I don't know how I feel about NASA, but yeah, I went to the Space Center when I was in 6th grade, I believe. I live near Huntsville. I'm in Georgia, but I rode on the Gravitron. I think that's what that thing's called.
Yeah. Did you survive the Gravitron? That's
I'm
really the
alive
question.
today. Yes, I'm alive today. I rode. I think it's called the Gravitron. Yes, yes. I
That's so
survived
cool.
it.
That is super
Yes,
cool.
absolutely. I actually used to. There was a racetrack right by the Huntsville Space Center. I used to drive race cars when I was a kid too. So we used to go racing, and then my dad would take us to Hooters as kids after the race. So that
Jessica,
is
just
totally
so much
aside.
information. That's great. Oh man. So
When I was a
chicken
little
wings
kid. Thanks, Dad.
and
Thanks,
racing.
Dad, for making me who I am today.
Fantastic.
Character development.
The
Yes.
Cryptid Huntress, everyone.
How do you think I became the Cryptid Huntress? It wasn't
You
easy.
you still have a little bit of barbecue sauce
I
right
still
here.
have some ranch.
Yeah. That's great. I love that.
Oh my God. Watch out, Vegas. We're coming.
Oh yeah. Hooters, look out. We are on our
Hooters.
way.
Find a Hooters.
That's
Yes.
right. So NASA released some UAP facts for us, considering that they are diving into the UAP science research. And so NASA's Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Study has put out their frequently asked questions page on their NASA science posting at nasa.gov. I'm sorry, science.nasa.gov. And so they have it numbered out here, and I'll just go down and we can
Okay.
kind of talk about it and see how we
Let's do
feel
that.
about it. So the first one is number one. The question is, will NASA be referring to UAPs, or I'm sorry, UAP as unidentified anomalous phenomena? And so their answer is to be consistent with National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. NASA will be calling UAP unidentified anomalous phenomenon. Okay, instead of the unidentified aerial phenomenon. And so they want to discern that. And so NASA's UAP independent study will be largely focused on aerial phenomenon, even though they're going to call it anomalous. It's very just counterintuitive.
I mean, do they like pay people to like have think tanks on this crap? Like, just call
Oh,
it a
yeah.
UFO. Who cares? Honestly, I'm just saying, it's it's a UFO. I'm just saying. I mean, people are making money off of this. It's almost like it's
But
just
it's
useless.
funny that
I'm just
that is
saying.
their number one. It seems very distinct as to what they're actually talking about. Like they have no idea really, what
They're
the
just
real
wasting
conversation is
time and
about.
money. Okay.
Yeah.
And making people look that way, like, oh, let's worry about what we're gonna call it. When like we have UFO, there's a mothership. Okay. There's a mothership. And
With
you guys are
probes.
worried about semantics. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's ready to launch probes at
I mean,
Earth.
we got Project Bluebeam ready to go, and you guys are worried about UAPs. I mean, it's just
What to
maybe
call
it's
it.
just like part of getting the public, it's just putting it out there and like building the public's interest up, by like, oh, are they going to call it this or that, or just putting the information out there? I mean, I don't know. I can't think of any other reason why they would be worried about that.
I just think it's hilarious that their number one question is what to name the question that they're going to ask, when the question should be, what do we do now that we pretty much
How
know
do
they're
we
here,
protect ourselves?
right?
What do we do to protect ourselves against alien invaders? I mean, how
There you
about
go.
that?
Let's talk
Let's
about
not
that.
worry.
That should be number one.
But it makes sense. Oh, I'm not going there, but I'm just saying it makes sense labeling things. Like I'm a remote viewer. We're taught not to label things. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to
No,
say.
that's a good rule. Yeah.
Don't label things. Just it is what it is. Okay. There's that. I'm going to leave it right there.
I
Okay.
think that, yeah, that's a good way to go about things. Just presenting data or information or whatever.
Put your data out there. There's something flying in the sky. We don't know what this is. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not
Let's
fight over what it is. Let's not pay
semantics.
$1 million to a think tank to figure out what to call this thing. Okay.
I
Just
100%
saying.
agree with you. Their
Okay.
number 2 question is, why is NASA involved with studying UAP? Great question. Number 2 answer is, exploring the unknown in space and the atmosphere is at the heart of who we are. Cheese, just cheese. The nature of science is to better understand the unknown, but the language of science is data. So the limited number of high-quality observations of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, or UAP, currently makes it impossible to draw scientific conclusions about the nature of such events. And so without access to an extensive set of data, it's impossible to verify or explain any observation. Thus, the focus of the study is to inform NASA what possible data could be collected in the future to shed light on the UAP. And so NASA is commissioning the UAP Independent Study Team to examine unidentified anomalous phenomenon from a scientific perspective, with a focus on how NASA can use this data and the tools of science to move the understanding forward. Single tear. Just a single tear is rolling down my cheek as I read this, because they're so far off here. It's just...
Sounds like a lot of wasting money. I'm just saying.
I mean, they could have saved money in text right
Yeah.
here. It just... because that was just a non-answer in my opinion. Number 3, they're saying, when will the independent studies report be released to the public? Great question also. And so they're just saying mid-2023, nothing specific. Fantastic. Thanks for more of that. And so number 4, what will the independent studies report cover when it's released to the public? And so the team's main focus of the report is to come up with a way in which to evaluate and study UAPs going forward by using data, technology, and tools of science. And so it's not in a review of UAP incidents. The report will be published with the intent to inform NASA on what possible data could be collected in the future and how it can be collected to shed light on UAP. Number 5, will this be a National Academy study? No, this will not be an Academy study. So no papers written or peers written or peer groups to study the topic or papers written. Number 6, what is the difference between an independent study versus an independent review board? This is just boring semantics. We don't need to know. Number 7, can the public and media view the independent study meetings? NASA expects to hold a full public meeting of the UAP Independent Study Team in the late spring, early summer of 2023, and the meeting will be broadcast to the public. Yay! That will be so much fun. I will be sure to be there for that. Number 8 is, what can the public expect to see after the report is released? So after a full report is released to the public in conjunction with NASA's principles of openness, transparency, and scientific integrity, after the report... Oh, yeah.
NASA is open and has integrity.
I know,
Just
this
kidding. This is all kind of funny to me.
If it wasn't coming from the website,
real?
I would think it's science fiction.
Is this real life? I'm just saying.
It's not the NASA I know.
Not the NASA I've heard of. Right. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I'm sorry,
that's
Tim.
great. That was perfectly timed. It really is, because NASA is going in with an open mind, and they expect to find that explanations will apply to some events and different explanations will apply to others.
Okay.
I mean, that right there. Oh, just, we will not
NASA.
underestimate what the natural world
NASA.
contains. They're already saying that they will not underestimate what the natural world contains. And we believe there's a lot to learn about the natural world. NASA.
I learned a lot on that gravitron when I was in 6th grade.
Yeah, don't get on a gravitron.
It's taking you for a ride. NASA takes you for a ride.
Well, they feed you burritos in the cafeteria, and then you get on the gravitron.
Not
Rocket-shaped burritos.
Rocket. Yes.
I'm so sorry. We went to...
Oh my gosh. It's been a long night, Tim. I'm sorry.
No, it's been a great night. In fact, we can wrap it, but we don't need to read more because it's huge.
This has been so. I don't want this to end. I'm having so much fun taking over the captain's chair for Dave, man.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job. You
Thank
really
you.
are. It's been a fun night. It really has.
It
Travis is
has been
great.
so much fun. It has
You,
really been fun.
you've made some friends tonight, haven't you?
I have. Well, I made a friend in you. You're my new friend.
Yeah,
And
for
yeah,
sure.
we have a great chat, and everybody that's watching tonight.
I haven't been reading chat, to be honest. I don't, because it's so
I have.
distracting. I'm not a good multitasker. I
I wasn't
tend,
either. Listen, I've been doing shows for a little over a year now, and it
I've
took
been
me a
watching.
while to get used to that. It
Yeah,
took me a while. When I was at KGRA, I never did chat at all. I couldn't deal with it. It was too much. But came to Space Out Radio, it's a requirement. So I'm getting better at it.
that's
And
great. Well, your
yeah,
shows are fantastic. I know you have a
thank you.
massive following, and um, I can't like even wrap my head around some of the stories being real. Like that stuff, I'm gonna be honest, it's scary to me. Dave doesn't like hearing me say it. I'm like, if we went Bigfoot hunting, the first crack of a stick I heard out in the woods, I would be such a tiny speck of dust on the horizon. You would just be like,
Really?
where did he
Oh,
go? Gone. Just poof.
you get used to it.
Do you?
We call it being inoculated. We're inoculated to the high strangeness.
Okay.
My team, like we're old veterans at this stuff. Like most of us that grew up having ghost experiences, ghosts, which now a lot of us think a lot of our ghost encounters were actually ETs.
How do you
Yeah,
know? I
we
mean,
don't
does it
know
come
for
with
sure.
experience?
It
Like,
does. It comes with experience. It it comes with the experience of experiencing ghosts as being young, and then having the ET experiences and it being the same phenomenon, but just in a different body. If that makes sense, like what the ghosts were doing or what the ETs are doing,
hmm,
standing around your bed, talking to you without their mouths moving, and things like that. Telepathy and the timing of it, and all the stuff. There's a lot of factors to it. So,
yeah.
it, we don't know for sure, but yeah, all roads lead back to ETs. That's what we like to say.
Really?
Yes,
That's cool. Is that truly how you feel about the
yes,
whole phenomenon leads back to ET?
yes.
And you feel like it could be an ultra terrestrial, potentially from here, for it's always been here kind of thing? Or
Perhaps.
do you have a
Yeah.
concept on where they're from?
Yeah. Well, I used to think that ETs came from outer space. Now I don't think so anymore.
Parallel
Yeah.
universe?
I mean, they some of them could, but the more that I do the remote viewing, and I'm trained in that pretty extensively, and a lot of the things that I've remote viewed seem to come from. I think it's interdimensional, just another dimension, perhaps.
Yeah.
I did remote view. I got in a lot of trouble over, I'm taught that it's not appropriate to remote view the moon and all that kind of stuff, and to talk about it publicly,
Hmm.
and I got a little bit of trouble for that.
Okay.
So there's certain things that are off limits. And there's a reason,
Huh.
obviously, why. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about that tonight.
Yeah, that sounds deep
I
and
got a little bit
cool.
of trouble.
It's
Yeah, we'll
been a
talk about it in
pleasure hearing
Vegas,
you.
Tim. How about
Yeah,
that?
that
Yeah,
is going to be fun.
yeah.
Thank you so
So,
much for tonight. It's been a fun UFO report with you. And so I will
yeah.
leave you here to do the closing, shall I?
Awesome. Yes. Listen, I'll take you down, Tim. Thank you so much for being here tonight. You're
Right on.
awesome. I'll see
Thanks.
you in Vegas. It's
Right
nice to
on.
meet you. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay.